Hello everyone. There is something common between all of us. We all understand the importance of decision making. We all know what an apparently correct or an incorrect decision brings along with itself. Decision making is something that we do every day. But here I am talking about decisions which are very critical and crucial to one's life. We definitely have a repertoire of such life experiences wherein we were supposed to take a very critical decision. And we all have different experiences of how we have taken it up. What if we had a tool which could tell us whether we are in a right frame of mind to take a decision or not? Set aside decision making. Let's talk about our professional life. Have you ever been into a situation wherein you thought that you are serving an incorrect job role? Have you ever thought that the job role that I am serving, the style of the job doesn't interest me? It doesn't match my skill set or my competencies? What if you had a tool which could tell you what are your right mindset or what are your correct behavior traits to fit a job role? Or which could tell you what are the traits that suits your job role the best? Now talk about communication skills. This is the most important thing in our personal and professional life. We all understand the importance of communicating effectively and being communicated to correctly. What if you had a tool which could tell you how to communicate with the person in front of you? Or how to understand what is the exact communication style that I prefer? If you find a connection with all these, please stay here, watch the full video because I'm sure you're going to reap a lot of benefits out of this video. This is my channel Sharmila's Tutelage and I'm going to discuss about a behavioral assessment tool today, which is not only going to help you in your self-development but also add value to your professional development. This tool is going to help you in every stage of your personal life and at every level of your career. You don't have to be a working professional or a management student to understand this concept. If you're a person who wants to develop himself or herself, this video is for you. Ladies and gentlemen, today I'm going to talk about DISC assessment, or it is also known as DISC behavioral profiling tool.
There are a lot of videos available online where DISC is explained as a concept. This video is different from most of them, as here DISC is not only discussed as a concept, but its practical usage and applicability is also discussed. Through this video, you would be able to see DISC as a self-development tool which can be used by everyone, everywhere.
Every organization runs psychometric tests with its employees or prospective employees. These psychometric tests may help the organization to understand the behavioral traits of the candidate. It may help the organization to understand how a candidate behaves in a certain kind of a situation. What are the leadership traits the candidate possesses? What type of a teammate the candidate would be? Time is changing. We have a lot of career options nowadays. We have a lot of academic options nowadays. How to identify whether we are choosing the right career option for ourselves or not? How do we understand whether a certain academic option suits our profile best? If you have a leader with you who tells you about your shortcomings or your growth areas to you to improve, you're lucky. If you don't have one, who would tell you about your shortcomings? Who would tell you the areas where you need to improve? Everybody is overburdened with work. Nobody has time to come to you and tell you, sit with you in order to discuss about your growth areas. What if you have a behavioral assessment tool with you which helps you to identify your growth areas? DISC assessment tool helps you in that. DISC assessment tool tells you what are your growth areas. Who doesn't want a conflict-free personal and professional life? DISC assessment tool can help you in eliminating conflicts out of your personal and professional life. I'll tell you how. Our behavior changes with every situation, with every environment. DISC assessment tool will help us in identifying how are we feeling or what are our behavior traits at a certain situation or a certain point of time. There are so many behavior assessment tools available. DISC is the most famous one because it is known to give you the nearest to accurate results. Other tests are Myers-Briggs, Harmon, Kersey temperament sorter, and many more. We all know about SWOT and Johari window as well. Although SWOT is not a behavioral assessment tool, but it talks about your strengths, weaknesses, and what are the opportunities and threats as being along. DISC is not a very recent concept. Although the recent DISC is given by William Moulton Marston through his book Emotions of Normal People, published in 1928. But it has its roots since the time of Hippocrates, when he wanted to understand human behavior through the four elements: earth, water, fire, and air. Let's take an example from our daily life. Say you're waiting for an elevator. You suddenly see a person coming, and the person continuously presses the button till the time the elevator arrives. He thinks if he presses the elevator button time and time again, the elevator would arrive fast. But it doesn't happen. The elevator comes on its normal time.
It appears as if the person tries to control every situation. The elevator stops on the next floor. A person steps in. With a smile on his face, the person greets everyone and tries to strike a conversation. The person appears to be very friendly. On the next stop, a person moves in, continuously observing the maximum weight limit, self-occupied, looking at his watch very often. By now, the elevator could accommodate only one. When it stops on the next floor, out of the two people waiting outside, one opts for taking the stairs instead, giving the chance to the other person. Do we see such behavior traits around us? We obviously do. We are one of them too. Let's identify our traits at this moment. Let's DISC ourselves. But before we go ahead, please note one very important fact. Behavior traits are variable according to the environment and situation you're into.
Draw two quadrants, one being your primary one, the other one being the secondary.
At the upper end of the vertical line, write outgoing. At the lower end, write reserved. Left hand side of the horizontal line goes for task oriented, and right hand side goes for people oriented. And now, choose between reserved and outgoing. Focus on your inner feelings. How do you feel right now? Do you feel more reserved or outgoing at this moment? How to identify that? Let me give you an example. If given a chance to hang out with your friends or finish all your pending work, which one would you choose and why? If you feel that you'll finish all your pending work, you're reserved. If you feel like hanging out with your friends right now, you're outgoing at this point of time. Next, choose between task-oriented and people-oriented. How to understand whether you are task-oriented or people-oriented at this point of time? If you're focusing more on a task than people around you, you're task-oriented. If your focus is more on people than the task assigned, you're people-oriented. While identifying your choices, find out the one or circle the one which you think is dominating you even by 51%. If you still feel confused, you have the secondary quadrant. You can find out your secondary feelings and choices there. Finally, you will find that you have circled these two, these, or these. If you have circled these two, write a D here. If these, write an I here. In case of this, put an S. If your choices are these two, write a C. Do the same with your secondary quadrant as well. So, right now, you're either D or I, S or C. DISC being 4 different behavior types. Let's understand what they stand for. D stands for dominance, I for influence, S for steadfast or steady, and C stands for compliance or conscientiousness. People who are type D bear the traits of being the driver, dominant, controlling, and tends to lead. People with behavior type I prefers to be with people, influence others, and supports visibly. People with behavior type S are reserved, people-oriented, supportive, are team glue, ready to help, volunteers, they are silent contributors, not at all overpowering, not at all dominant, and they're easily overwhelmed. People with behavior type C are reserved and task-oriented, they're conscious, they do not haste, they're calculative, logical, and skeptical. Every behavior type has its own strengths and growth areas. Let's have a look at them. For behavior type D, the strengths are that they're leaders, they're presentable, they're socially strong, they're optimistic, and they're sharp-minded. And the growth areas are they get angry, they're overexertive, they use others to attain their goals, they're headstrong, they're stubborn, and they are unwilling to delegate authority. Influential people have strengths as they are social, they're entertaining, they're outgoing, they're responsive to the social needs of people, and they're friendly. The growth areas are they're tempted more by destructive behavior, they're impulsive, they're not very organized, they're indisciplined, and they tend to exaggerate. Steadfast people are calm, easygoing, peacemakers, even-tempered, good and steady under pressure, takes on a lot under a high-pressure environment. Growth areas are they're compromising, they avoid confrontation, they fear to upset people, they fail to say no, they're hesitant to express their opinion, and they get into resentment. The compliant people has their strengths as they're creative, they're insightful, they're intelligent, they're excellent supervisors, they're faithful and self-sacrificing. And their growth areas are they are judgmental, they're moody, they have low self-esteem at times, they fear for rejection, and they're perfectionist. There are questionnaires available online which helps in identifying the DISC behavior types. Mostly, these questionnaires assign scores at the end of the test, which will tell you about your high and low DISC score references. What if you have your D score high or low? What if your I score is high or low? What about S and C being high or low? Let's find it out. People with high D score are very active in dealing with problems. They're demanding, they're egocentric, forceful, strong-willed, driving, determined, aggressive, pioneering, and ambitious. People with low D score prefer more research before committing something. They're conservative, low-keyed, calculative, cooperative, undemanding, cautious, modest, and peaceful. People with high I score influence others to talk, influence others to act, tend to be emotional, convincing, magnetic, political, enthusiastic, persuasive, warm, demonstrative, and optimistic. Low I score people are influenced more by data, not influenced by feelings. They're reflective, factual, skeptical, logical, suspicious, pessimistic, critical, and questioning. High S score people want a steady pace and security. They have status quo. They are calm, relaxed, patient, predictable, deliberate, stable, consistent, and poker-faced. People with low S score likes change, likes variety. They're restless, impulsive, demonstrative, impatient, and eager. People with high C score adhere to rules and regulations, adhere to structure. They believe in doing quality work. They try to do it right the first time. They're careful, cautious, neat, systematic, accurate, and tactful. People with low C score has a tendency to challenge the rules. They want independence. They're self-willed, stubborn, opinionated, unsystematic, arbitrary, and unconcerned with details.
We are actually a blend of all of these four traits. At every situation, at every environment, we do change. Still, one category remains dominant. An assessment was done on approximately 4 lakh people. And the study shows that out of those 4 lakh people, 90% of the people had the dominant trait as D. 32% had I as their dominant trait. The most popular one is S, with 35% of the population going with it. And only 14% of them fell in the category of C.
Now look at a quadrant. Look at D and I. These two are the extroverted traits of a person. These two are also called the active styles. Look at S and C. It shows the introverted aspects of a person. It is also called the passive style. If you look at D and C, it talks about the task-focused aspects of a behavior, while I and S talks about the social aspects of a behavior. At this stage, now we are aware of almost all types of behavior traits. You know the strengths and growth areas of people with these 4 behavior types. Do you think with this tool you can modulate your transactions with different people? Hence, disc yourself every time you feel lost or confused. Disc yourself before taking an important decision. Use it if you want to communicate effectively and address people correctly. Remember, if you are aware of your own behavior and your frame of mind, you can be very effective while dealing with any problem or with any situation.
I hope now you understand how important disc profiling is in our lives. Be it your personal life or professional life, disc is going to help you out a lot in every situation. Please do disc yourself. This is Sharmila signing off for today. I'll see you soon with a new video of mine. Thank you so much. Stay safe, stay healthy. Goodbye.